First encountered by the United Federation of Planets in the second half of the 24th century, the Jem'Hadar fighter served as the main attack warship, scout, and patrol craft of the Dominion, the preeminent power on the other side of the Bajoran wormhole in the Gamma Quadrant. Serving the Dominion as an attack fighter, their time of introduction is unknown, but it was active in the early 25th century at least. The length of the ship may vary, indicating possibly at least two distinct classes of the vessel, but it doesn't seem that they're picked out as distinctly different by any actual sources. They average between 68 to 90 meters. The larger ones are crewed by 1 Vorta and 42 Jem'Hadar troops, with an observed maximum speed of Warp 7, though likely they are capable of at least Warp 9. They're armed with phased polaron beams, torpedoes, and some even come equipped with disruptors and energy dissipators. They are defended by deflector shields. The smaller variant is crewed by 12 with a maximum speed of Warp 9.6. This is likely the top speed of the larger variant as well. And a cruising speed of Warp 5, likely the cruising speed of both. They are armed with the same polaron beam emitters and photon torpedo tubes as the larger one. They saw service with the Dominion, the Jem'Hadar Vanguard Fleet, and later the Khitomer Alliance. The ships are vaguely insect in shape, leading to their nickname of Bugships, resembling a Terran scarab. They have an extremely sturdy space frame design, as they're capable of surviving both wormhole travel and impact on a planet's surface. They're small enough to land on a planet and take off again. Once landed, the Jem'Hadar ship could land troops from the warship via a large access hatch on its belly. While capable of making planetary descents, they are not capable of conducting battle in suborbital conditions, their ventral maneuvering jets not capable of keeping them airborne. Though highly maneuverable for a starship of this size, similarly capable to the Klingon Burrell-class bird of prey and Federation Defiant-class starship, but they are easily outmaneuvered by the Danube-class runabouts and Peregrine-class attack fighter. However, they greatly outgun the runabout and the Peregrine. The Defiant and the Burrell match their weapons much more closely. Early engagements resulted in disastrous outcomes for Starfleet's mid-24th century fleet, as Starfleet shields could not deflect the phased polaron beams of the Dominion warships. However, this was quickly overcome, and the Jem'Hadar fighters became relatively easy to destroy for the next generation of combat-oriented Starfleet vessels designed to engage the Borg. A few phaser or photon torpedo hits was enough to cripple or even destroy one, thus they often operated in wings of 2 to 3 during routine operations and could operate in much larger swarms, so the loss of 1 or 2 wouldn't matter so much. The Jem'Hadar fighters had a diverse and formidable weapons array. The squadron that encountered the USS Odyssey fired phased polaron pulse beams that for a time were able to penetrate Federation shields. These emitters could also fire continuous beams from emplacements fore and aft, with the main forward emitter being able to fire a beam at a range of more than 100,000 kilometers. These were combined with the Karima manufactured photon torpedoes. Alpha Quadrant manufactured ships also carried disruptor weapons, and during the waning days of the Dominion War in late 2375, Breen energy dissipators were added in retrofits, following the Breen alliance with the Dominion. However, this came too late to make any meaningful difference in the outcome of the war, as the Cardassian Rebellion began shortly after the refit program started. The Cardassian rebels even obtained an attack ship with this Breen weapon and delivered it to Starfleet for study. Alongside the weapons, the Jem'Hadar used these ships in different strategies as well. Suicide attacks. They would ram enemy vessels to inflict far more damage than their weapons could. It was first encountered by the USS Odyssey in 2370 and would be consistently used throughout the Dominion War, notably, for instance, in the First Battle of Chintaka. The fighter possessed transporter technology that could penetrate Federation shields and deflector shields that were impervious to tractor beams, which was a type of deflector unknown to the Federation as of 2370. Cloaking would also not hide a ship from a Jem'Hadar ship because they used a form of anti-proton beam. The tech was later advanced to include a form of long-range tachyon scanner, which was capable of penetrating a ship's cloak at distance. The interior of the Jem'Hadar fighter was very different from most Alpha Quadrant starships. They were usually commanded by a Vorta field supervisor and a Jem'Hadar first. The bridge had no chairs, and only 2 head-mounted virtual sensory displays instead of a view screen. There were 3 doors and 2 floor hatches that allowed access to the rest of the ship. The central position had no captain's chair, but had several access points to various system controls. Other control areas faced inwards towards the command position. The ship lacked numerous amenities that would otherwise be taken for granted on Federation ships, like infirmaries and food replicators. The Jem'Hadar fighter was one of the most numerous and notable Dominion warships, and formed the majority of the Dominion's effort to expand the will of the Founders into the Alpha Quadrant.